Okay, hi Sabrina. Answering your questions. So first, are negatives taken into account when figuring out axis of symmetry? Yes, negatives are taken into account. So I'll give you a couple of examples. On your review sheet, number 1, when I find the axis of symmetry, x equals, oh, let me switch colors. X equals negative b over 2a, right? So my a value is the number in front of x squared. A is negative 1, because there was a negative there. B is 2, positive 2, and C is 8. So x equals negative b means I'm turning this b, which was a positive, into a negative. Negative 2 over 2 times a, which is negative 1. When I divide negative 2 divided by negative 2, I get positive 1. Okay, so yes, the negative is taken into account. If the quadratic equation was a different one, like let me make up a new one. Let's say it was y equals x squared minus 6x plus 8, right? Then if I did axis of symmetry for that, first of all, my a value here is 1, because it's 1x squared. My b value is negative 6, and my c value is 8. So when I do x equals negative b over 2a, x equals negative 6 over 2 times a is 1. So that becomes positive 6 over 2, which is positive 3. Okay, so you use whatever signs are the original ones in the equation, you plug it into the formula. Sometimes it comes out to be a positive, sometimes it comes out to be a negative. Okay, so hopefully that helps with that question. Your second question was about perfect square trinomial. So if I go down to where you complete the square, that was towards the end of the packet, where you solve by completing the square. So number 14, we were solving by completing the square. So I'm going to go to the step that you're asking about, which is the perfect square trinomial part. So I'm going to subtract the 11, x squared minus 8x equals negative 11. So you take half of negative 8 and square it. That's going to be negative 4 squared, that's 16. We add 16 to both sides. This gives us x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 5. So whatever you're left with on the left side after you complete the square, that's a perfect square trinomial. So the way you figure out the number in the parentheses, which is what you were asking me about, right? It's going to be like x plus something or x minus something, is by looking at the two numbers in this equation. What number comes to mind when you look at 8 and 16? 4 should come to mind. 4 plus 4 is 8, and 4 times 4 is 16. So it's going to be the same number added with itself to give you the 8, and the same number multiplied with itself to give you the 16. But this is a negative, so it's actually negative 4 plus negative 4 that adds up to negative 8, and negative 4 times negative 4 that gives you the 16. So this is x minus 4 squared. So in another example, if I were to give you a new example, and I gave you x squared plus 6x plus 9, and that's your perfect square trinomial, and you want to rewrite that as a binomial squared, well, 6 is 3 plus 3, and 9 is 3 times 3. And then this is positive, so they're both positive, so it's x plus 3 squared. Okay, if I gave you another example, if it was x squared minus 18x plus 81. When you look at 18 and 81, what two numbers do you think of? Hopefully you think of 9. So, because 9 plus 9 is 18, and 9 times 9 is 81. But look at, it's negative 18, so it's negative 9 plus negative 9, and negative 9 times negative 9. So if the middle is negative, then you're going to have a minus. So this is x minus 9 squared. If the middle is positive, then you'll have a plus. Okay, and again, it's the same number added with itself and multiplied with itself that determines that second number value in the binomial. Okay, that was your second question. Your third question was about the order of number 2 on the review packet. So going back to number 2 on the review packet, I'm trying to, sorry, my pen's not working. So going back to number 2 in the review packet. When you're determining the order of widest to narrowest, the widest graph, as I went over in class today, and I had written some notes on this, the widest graph is the one where the absolute value of A is the smallest. So where the absolute value of A is a number less than 1, it's getting wider. And when the absolute value of A is a number that's bigger than 1, then the parabola is getting narrower. So for example, if I had y equals 3x squared, that's going to be narrow because this number 3 is getting bigger than 1. If it was y equals 1/3 x squared, that would be wide because this number is getting smaller than 1. And we say absolute value because if you throw a negative in front of these, that doesn't change the width. The only thing the negative does is make it upside down. It makes it open down. It just changes the direction. It doesn't change the width of it. So if you look at these coefficients of x squared, you have -1, 1/3, and -2 in the problem. So the widest one is going to be the one with the absolute value that's the smallest number. So the smallest number is 1/3. This is going to be the widest. The one that's the narrowest is going to be the one whose absolute value is the largest number. So the narrowest would be this one because the absolute value of -2, which is 2, is the biggest number. So it kind of goes in opposite directions. The bigger the number, the narrower the parabola. The smaller the number, the wider the parabola. Okay, so that's how you figure out number 2. And your last question was about interval of increase and interval of decrease. Interval of increase and interval of decrease are, if you look at, let's see, if you look at number 1, right, I think your axis of symmetry was on 1. You need the graph to do it. Your axis of symmetry was on 1, and when you plugged that in, we got, for the vertex, -1, plus 2 plus 8, it was 9, the vertex. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So your parabola looked something like this. Shh, Elias. Your parabola looked something like this. So, Elias, go. So your interval of increase is... Sorry, your interval of increase, so you pretend basically like you're like riding on a roller coaster from left to right. Here you're going up the parabola, and then you're going down the parabola, okay? So your interval of increase is all the x values from -infinity, because this keeps getting wider and wider and wider. So from -infinity all the way up to 1, because that's where the highest point, where the parabola stops going up. Your car would stop going up here. So your interval of increase is -infinity to 1, or x less than or equal to 1. Anything less than or equal to 1, actually, we're not going to, it's not increasing at 1. So actually, to be more accurate, I should not be including the 1. I should just make it a soft parentheses and no equal sign. And then my interval of decrease is where the car is going down. So the car is going down. Let me switch colors. The car is going down the hill here. So my interval of decrease are the x values for which the car is going down. So anything, my interval of decrease is everything beyond to the right of the 1. So from 1 all the way to infinity. So where x is greater than 1, the car is decreasing. So from x greater than 1. So you're always going to state the x values. You're always going to say the domain for which you're going up and for which you're going down. If the parabola was going, let's say the parabola was over here, like this. Right? And this is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's -9. So now, imagine there's a car driving on it. Your car is going down. When it gets to here, it switches and it's going up, right? Because we read from left to right. So the interval of decrease is everything to the left of -9 And the interval of increase is everything to the right of negative 9. So my interval of decrease here, I'm writing in red for this, would be everything less than negative 9, or negative infinity to negative 9. And my interval of increase is everything to the right of negative 9. So my increase interval would be x is greater than negative 9, or negative 9 to infinity. Okay, and thank you for looking that up in your notes, because that's an important detail that wasn't in your review packet. So that shows that you're going over everything. All right, contact me if you have more questions. Thanks.